This entire game is built around leveling up skills, and you shouldn't be doing it without these plugins installed. I'm going to go through all of the plugins available for all of the skills, so let's get stuck right into it. Let's start off with the combat skills. So that's attack, strength, defense, range, prayer, magic, and hit points. I'm not really going to touch on the boss related plugins for things like Barrows, Nightmare Zone, and whatever, but there are a few more generic combat related plugins that you should definitely get. One of which is the max hit calculator. It will show the base max hit and the max spec hit in a handy little info box. Another informative display comes from the combat details plugin, where you can see the DPS and accuracy of your opponent if you like things like that. The NPC aggressions timer plugin lets you put in a list of NPCs that you want to see the aggression areas for. It'll also give you an info box with a timer until their aggression runs out. The status bars plugin will give you a nice visual display of your HP bar and prayer bar or spec bar if you wanted. I've talked about how this works in a previous plugin video, so you can check that out if you want to know more about this one. High Alk Profit is a plugin that will highlight anything in your bank that is worth alking, and you can adjust the profit threshold settings and use GE prices if you're a normie. And another magic related plugin is the Mage Training Arena one. It's inbuilt into RuneLite, so just make sure that it's on for every room and it'll take you through what to do there. Right, moving on to runecrafting now. The Guardians of the Rift Helper plugin massively improves the gameplay of this minigame. It highlights the cataclytic and the elemental altars in different colours, and it notifies and directs you towards portals. And it also gives a handy timer since the last portal, so you know roughly when to expect the next one. The Great Guardian Hider plugin will also hide this big guy in the middle here unless you have the stuff that you need to give him. This gives the game a bit of a cleaner look, but it also makes some altars a bit easier to click on. And if you want to do runecrafting in the much more mind-numbing way, you can get the Runecrafting Utilities plugin, which changes the default option for pouches to fill while you're in the bank and empty while you're near an altar. The Essence Pouch plugin will also show you how many essence you have in your essence pouches, and the Essence Pouch Health plugin will give you a counter until your pouch degrades. If you do runecrafting on Arceus, the Easy Arceus runecrafting plugin has a mega screen flash which you will probably want to turn off, but it also gives you little reminders of where to go next here. Alternatively, the Dense runecrafting plugin does a very similar thing with much less disco, so you can save your retinas some pain. For construction, we have the Mahogany Homes plugin, which gives you a handy reminder of your task, a rough guide for the necessary resources that you will need, big yellow arrows on the map for you to follow, and it highlights the things that you need to fix. The Plank Sack plugin will give you a simple number on the top of your sack showing you how much is inside, and also an info box on your screen. The Construction QOL plugin allows you to rebind a building option to a different number, allowing you to press 1 for removing tables, press 1 to talk to your butler, and then press 1 instead of 6 to build a mahogany table. This small change makes this skill much easier to train now. There's also a plugin for butler info, which will display a few info boxes, including how many more bank trips they can make until they need to be paid, the time left until they return from the bank, and how many planks they're currently holding. For agility, there's already an inbuilt plugin that will highlight click boxes for rooftop agility courses and show them in red so you don't miss a mark of grace. It'll also highlight where you need to click in other agility training areas like the Brimhaven Agility Arena, the Agility Pyramid, and it will also highlight projectiles that you need to avoid in the Hallows Sepulchre. And also for the Agility Pyramid, there's a plugin that will add a nice simple circle timer showing you when the sliding blocks are going to come out. For Herblore, we have the Mastering Mixology plugin, which will help you with the new minigame. It'll show you the potion recipes and highlight the best ones for you to make and which station to use them on. You can configure what you want to prioritise in the settings here too, like set it to favour experience or Mox, Lie or Aga. It'll also highlight digweed that is fully grown and ready for you to collect to double your XP. There's also the Herblore Recipes plugin, which will tell you all the details that you need for potion recipes when you hover over herbs, unfinished potions or secondaries or seed. You can set it to show just in your bank or also in the seed vault and in your inventory. For thieving, let's start with the House Thieving Varlamore plugin. This highlights the doors of the houses that are part of this minigame and gives you a big flashing arrow pointing to the one that is currently empty. It'll also highlight where and when you can get a bonus and also the window for an easy exit. You'll get a handy notification when the wealthy citizens are being distracted and when the owner is coming back to the house. This plugin makes the thieving activity here require much less thinking, which is what we all want for this game really, isn't it? If you like the Stealing Artifacts minigame in Current, you can get a plugin that tells you the current target and highlights the guards and patrols here. For the thieving minigames in Alcarad, you can get the Autumn Garden, Spring Garden or Summer Garden plugins. The Autumn and Spring one highlight the safe spots to stand on and turn green when it's safe to click on them. The Summer one works for the one-click method where you can stand on the square in front of the gate and click on the tree when the handy countdown here hits 0. Or you can turn on the race style countdown, which will give you an audible 3, 2, 1, go kind of thing. Next we have the Rogue's Den plugin, which will mark tiles and obstacles for you to help guide you through the maze without getting caught in the traps along the way. Next we have the Blackjack plugin, which will highlight the NPCs that are blackjackable and then change the highlight colour to green when they're successfully knocked out. Pyramid Plunder plugin is built in and it'll highlight the doors, traps and containers in each room for you, making this minigame much easier to complete. For your pickpocketing, you could turn on the Pickpocket Info plugin to get more information about how many charges your dodgy necklace has left, your success rate and some more information if you like that sort of thing. And the Pickpocket Helper plugin gives a lot of handy pickpocketing QOL features. It'll mute fail and success sounds, give you an audible notification whenever you're missing rogue equipment, when your dodgy necklace breaks, when you stop pickpocketing for a while or when your hit points are below your set threshold. It can also handily hide others around, including NPCs, while you're pickpocketing. And the final one for thieving is the Pickpocket Guardian plugin, which will actually stop you from pickpocketing once your HP goes below a certain threshold. Moving on to crafting now, which I actually don't really know of many plugins for. I guess the action progress one is nice because it shows you a bar that fills up as your current action is taking place if you want a more visual display for when it's going to finish. And then for fletching, we have a simple plugin that will give you an on-screen counter for some actions such as fletching headless arrows, so you're on the ball when to start it next. And once part 3 of Varlamore drops next year, there will be a new fletching method, so there'll probably be more plugins about in the future. Next, let's talk about Slayer. The inbuilt Slayer plugin will give you an info box that will display your current Slayer tasks. There's also a box here that you can tick to outline the things that will count for your Slayer task, and I really like that option. Slayer Helper plugin will give you a tab over here on the right hand side where you can search for monsters. It'll give you helpful information like where in the world you can find them, if you need any items with you, their attack style, and which Slayer masters can give them. Slayer Assistant does the same sort of thing but with a slightly different style. Then we have the Konar Milestone Reminder plugin. If you want to get the most points on your milestone tasks, you definitely need to install this. You can set it to give you a chat message every 10th, 50th, 100th or so on, and if that chat message isn't enough, you can also set it to hide or highlight non-Konar Slayer masters once you get that reminder. Also, if you're using Turiel for point boosting, you can install the Turiel Skipping plugin, which will give you a handy little info box displaying some of the places that you could complete your Turiel tasks and the easiest way to get there. And moving on to Hunter, we have the inbuilt Impling plugin, which will let you turn on notifications for spawns near you of certain implings, or alternatively you can set it to just highlight them. You can also change the colour of each impling to whatever you want. There's a setting here to tick that will show you the spawn locations for the ones that you have highlighted up to Eclectics whilst you're in Puro. And if you want to camp these spawns, you might actually be better turning the highlight setting for that impling to none, and instead turning on the NPC indicators plugin. And in there you need to tick the show respawn timer option. Once you've done that, you shift right click and tag all for the implings that you're camping, and now you'll get a handy respawn timer at their respawn location. Another tip for while you're doing this is having the inventory viewer plugin turned on. This will allow you to stay on the mage tab and cast Entangle or Lure while seeing how many impling jars you have left to fill without swapping back and forth all the time. Then we have the Hunter Rumors plugin. This will give you an info box with your current rumour and handy information if you hover over it, like how many you've caught, the maximum before pity rate, locations to do the task, and the closest to teleport to a fairy ring. It'll also highlight the animals that will count for your task in green and give you a countdown to pity rate on the info box whilst you're doing the task. And when you're finished, it'll give you a message in chat showing some stats about your rumour task, and it'll highlight which hunter in the guild that you need to give your rare piece back to. Next we have the Razor Kebbit tracking plugin, which will highlight the burrows for you to start your search on, and the one that you need to inspect next. It'll also make it so that you can't accidentally click a part of the trail that you shouldn't, and it'll show you where the kebbit is with a green highlight at the end. Then we have the Herbie AFK plugin, which will give you a blue line to follow instead of the inbuilt one, which gives you marked tiles. It'll also display big arrows on your minimap for which way you need to click. And then for bird runs, there's a plugin called Time Tracking and Time Tracking Reminder, which I'll touch on later. There's also a birdhouse overlay one, which will highlight birdhouse spots in green once you've popped your seed in case you're like me and you forget to do that quite a bit. Moving on to mining, we have the Shooting Star info plugin, which can show you how many miners are at the same star as you, the tier the star is on, the percentage left until the next tier, and so much more information if you care about that kind of stuff. There's also quite a few Shooting Star plugins that crowdsource locations but need your IP address to work. Using the OSRS portal star tracking website is a great alternative. Then we have the Volcanic Mine plugin, which will give you notifications during this minigame for things like vent shifts, eruptions, and boulder movement. It also includes a stability tracker for the last 3 changes and a few other things that you might find helpful. The MLM Mining Markers plugin highlights which veins have been mined and the time left until that vein depletes. And there's also Motherlode Mine Improved, which is an alternative that will show mineable ores with a timer to depletion, but I prefer the simplicity of the other one. The Camtorum Mining plugin has a helpful feature which will make the calcified mineable rocks the only clickable ones, and it will also notify you when water spawns, and you can make it even more noticeable if you want to. And the final one is the Blast Mine Dynamite restriction. This plugin will not let you excavate without having dynamite in your inventory. RuneLite also has a default Blast Mine plugin that will warn you where the explosion will hurt you and provide some overlays for things while you're here. Moving on to fishing, the Temperos plugin will highlight where fires will spawn and give you a handy timer until they do. You can also get timers for the incoming waves and the double fishing spots. I've changed the colour of the double fishing spots to stand out more, and you can also get notifications for when double spots, storm clouds, and waves spawn. Then there are a few plugins for aerial fishing. First up, the Timers plugin, which will show you a visual timer for when the fishing spots will despawn, and then the plugin just called Aerial Fishing. This will show you distance lines, and it has an optional sound alert for when you're idle. And the Aerial Tick Colors plugin is an alternative to that one, where you can change the colour of the fishing spots based on the ticks until your bird will respond to you. Next up, smithing. We have the Easy Giants Foundry plugin, which highlights the actions that you need to do starting with the mold combination and then the tasks that you need to perform and for how long. It'll also give you a handy info box and will play a sound and change colour when you can click for a bonus so you don't miss it. There's also a plugin called Giant's Foundry Gear Values, which will show you what items like swords and chain bodies in your bank are worth in bar value whilst you're at your bank in the Giant's Foundry. And then the Easy Blast Furnace plugin will highlight the actions that you need to take and remind you when to use your goldsmith gauntlets and ice gloves. For cooking, I actually don't know of any good plugins available. Having one for the Hasidius mess hall activity might be quite handy, but I don't think that exists. There is a gnome restaurant plugin, but I don't know why you would do that to yourself, so I'm going to skip over that one. So moving on to fire making, there's a built-in Wintertop plugin which will give you this info box, which will show you how many points the kindling you have in your inventory is worth. It'll also give you notifications before the round starts, when your inventory is full, when the brazier is extinguished, and when you take damage. There's also a plugin to help you complete a solo Wintertop by highlighting when it's safe to light braziers without ending your game, when you need to heal the pyromancers, when it's time to chop roots, and when it's time to fletch. For woodcutting, we have the plugin which is inbuilt into RuneLite, which will show you the respawn timers for trees and give you notifications for the forestry minigames and helpful overlays while they're active. Also an int trimmer plugin, which is a nice addition to this. And for the final skill of farming, we have the green thumb plugin, which gives you so much helpful information related to farming. Hovering over a seed will show the level requirement needed for planting, the seed type, how many you'll need per patch, how long it'll take to grow, how you can protect it, and what the uses are for it. But if you don't want all that information, the patch payment part is available as a plugin on its own. It lets you examine the seeds to show the required payment to protect it. Then we have the Deadeye Compost plugin, because once you've planted your seeds, maybe you're like me and can't actually remember if you just used the compost on it or not. This plugin will show you a little bucket of compost on the patch if it has been treated, removing the need to question yourself and waste clicks by trying to figure out if you've done it right or not. I also tend to forget what kind of compost I have in the bins. The Compost Helper plugin will show you which type of compost you have in it and how much is left. Then the time tracking plugin that I was talking about earlier for birdhouses will keep track of various in-game timers for you. It'll monitor your farming patches, compost bins, and also birdhouses. It'll tell you when they'll be ready and notify you if you turn on the bell notification here. Also the time tracking reminder plugin, which will give you a little pop-up info box here showing you what is completed so much easier. You can change the text from done to whatever you want and select what you want the pop-up boxes for. And finally for Tithe Farm, there's an inbuilt plugin which will give you helpful overlays while you're taking part in this minigame. It'll show you clearly which seeds need watered and a timer for you to complete the next action. Then lastly, I want to go over a few more general plugins that will be helpful on your skilling journey. Starting with the Banked XP plugin, which calculates what level that you can get based on things that you already have in your bank. Selecting a skill like cooking here, you can right click on the items and include all or ignore all and just include the ones that you're interested in. It'll also calculate how many secondaries you'll need for things like herb lore, mahogany homes, prayer, and more. And you can customize your settings based on things like what outfit pieces you have or what method you're using. And then similar to Banked XP, we have the skills calculator plugin where you can select a skill to see how many actions it's going to take you to level up. And if you're going for a specific level, you can put that in here and it'll adjust the actions based on that target. And you can also adjust this based on equipment and outfits that you have as well. Then the Tears of Gothics plugin comes with RuneLite and it'll track when you're able to do this and provide helpful overlays during the game itself. And there's an indicator plugin that you can get which puts a little icon beside your skill with the lowest XP so you'll always know where your Gothics is going to go. And the final one I want to mention in this video is the skills progress bar. It won't help you level up, but it'll give you such a nice little visual display of how close you are to the next level, and it updates in real time. I hope there's something that you can take away from this video, and if you know of any other skilling plugins that I've missed, please mention them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.